Engineering, more into shields, please. Fire torps as they come to bear. Bring us closer. Are we sure we're on the right frequency for the phasers? Torps, as soon as they bear. Don't crash into them now.
Oh, nice. Oh, that was good.
Homings, load homings.
Running low on ECM.
Load all homings. Fire at will on torps.
Please surrender, Captain.
All right, disengage dock.
Coming to dock, Captain. Aye.
Direction 16, 15. We're within 1,000.
Give me tactical, please. Long range. All right.
Ready.
On Y82, give me a scan. Make sure that I have the frequencies on their shields, please. Communications, please bring Destroyer 60 up to defend DS1. Let me know when we're back up to full.
Docking suggested, Captain. Right to full. There's it full.
All right, wait till those front shields come up. When shields hit 90, go ahead and disengage. Please load, 2 homing.
There's an incoming ship, Y82.
Y82, engage. Give me tactical.
4,000 away. Direction 56.
Fire homings. At will. Reload homing. Front two, please.
Front eye.
So, just chattered it.
Are we on the right frequency for their shields?
Frequency Charlie.
Charlie, please set phasers to Charlie. Bring us about to the right. Engineering, try to give me more maneuverability. I want to get this guy.
This is really, really cool.
Give me tactical, please.
Tactical eye.
Really cool.
All right.
Start at any time.
Welcome to another Plus 10 to Awesome interview. I'm here with Russell, and he's running a great game over here at Oricon called Artemis. So you said this wasn't your game. What's your association with it?
I really don't have an association with this game other than having played it for the first time about 3 months ago. I fell in love with it and knew I had to set up the ability for other people to play this.
So what kind of equipment and what did you have to go through to set this up?
The easiest part was actually getting the software. It's a $40 license that you download from the author's website, and you're able to install it on as many computers as you need for the system.
How many computers do you need?
For a bare minimum game, you can play it with as few as 3, which is 1 to be the server and then 2 different computers, 1 for helm, 1 for weapons. But it is recommended that if you're going to play a full bridge, you want 6 computers.
How many positions are on a bridge and what are they?
There are actually 6 positions. There is helm, which steers the ship, weapons, which shoots things and blows things up, science, which scans the area and lets the captain and the crew know where things are and who the bad guys are. There's communications, which communicates with the space stations, with other ships if there are ships in play, and with the enemies to either taunt them or tell them to surrender. And finally, there's the engineer who controls the power to the rest of the system to help things run more efficiently. But most importantly, there's the captain who controls the whole ship without a computer.
Now, what's fabulous about the game is that the captain, the way they have it set up here is that the captain's position is pretty much just a projector screen, like you would see at the helm of like the Starship Enterprise, for example. You have the big screen up front, and the captain can call for tactical or long-range sensors, or just a straight-up front view of what's going on with the combat. And he or she has to call the shots depending on what the rest of the crew relays to them as information and what they choose to see on the screen that they choose to bring up on the main screen, which is, so reminiscent of what we're used to in these type of TV shows and movies. The experience is very true to what you see in that, and it's really exciting as a cooperative experience. And the thing that I found most exciting was that there were things going on. The first time I played Helm, and there was things going on that I sort of kind of knew what was going on, but the communications guy was doing his own thing on his own initiative, and the captain was calling some shots. I was doing my thing. And there were so many elements going on at the same time that sort of meshed seamlessly into what happened in these combats, that you felt this real teamwork type of feeling with everybody else, and it was really fun to experience. Now, do you have a favorite position to play in this game?
Difficult to say. If I would have to say, I'd have to choose between weapons and engineering. And I know engineering sounds like it's an odd one for people to enjoy, but I like to be able to preset configurations and be able to listen to what's going on and help out silently. The ability to hit a couple of keys and suddenly we're moving faster, or our phasers are firing twice as fast, or the torpedoes are moving faster, and it makes everyone else's job easier.
I find that communications and engineering sort of semi-run autonomously and in the background, because I never really, in the several experiences I've had playing this game, do I see the captain really calling a lot of shots other than maybe more power to reloading torpedoes or something like that. But the communication guy is constantly relaying information, but they seem to be doing a lot. And somebody would think that, oh, what the hell did Uhura do anyway? It's one of those... I think that the part of the brilliance of the game is really giving a lot for everybody to do and giving everybody a real feeling that they're affecting the game. Give us a little bit more insight into exactly what communications does, since their display seems to be a little bit more complex than everybody else's.
Well, in a basic game, what they do is they facilitate information to the captain and the rest of the crew as far as what is available from the space stations, letting the space stations know that you're coming into dock so that things get to the ships faster, informing the space stations that we need certain weapons built and getting them to start building nukes, building new homing. But then also at the same time being able to communicate with the enemy, let them know, okay, we want you to surrender, and continue to pound on them to surrender. And eventually some of them will go, you know what, this isn't worth the fight, and they will break off and run away, and it makes the fights easier when they look like an unbelievable fight with 12 craft on us, and we've got 120 shields, and they've got 600 shields, and it's just an intense battle. But at the same time, there are also side missions that most of the players in here right now aren't playing, because it's just a 20 or 30 minute game that we're playing right now, where you can dock with transports, gather information, get to another space station, and pass on this information, and now suddenly you've got improved engines or improved energy facilities. In missions, which none of us are playing right now, there are actually preset games where communications is vital to understand, say, a science officer who's on the ship to state, we need you to go to this nebula, or we need you to go somewhere else. And the communications actually becomes a greater interactive position. And it can be something that is just critical to completing a game.
Yeah, and the game in and of itself has so many elements and so much for a captain to keep track of. And when I first tried to play captain, I was fairly intimidated. I think a lot of people would be intimidated by that sort of nerve center position. But really, I found it extremely compelling and exciting, because the players were so forthcoming in giving me information, following my orders. It's amazing how quickly you fall into this sort of military role. You have people that, probably have no military background playing this, and they're going, "Aye, Captain," and replying to my commands in a very efficient and military way. And the way that everything just falls together, like the pieces fall together so quickly in this game, just really amazed me. And the cool thing about you doing this as con is that you have people that know each other in a lot of groups, but you have people that never met each other in this, and they're immediately sort of synced in, talking to each other, communicating, and sort of practicing warfare in a simulated way in a very, in a very cinematic way, and that's really cool. The graphics on these are actually pretty cool. You have to actually see outside your ship and look at the enemy ships, and there's a very different distinction between your large dreadnought ships and your fighter craft, and there's everything. You have carriers, you have dreadnoughts, cruisers, battleships. You're just in the Artemis, and what kind of class ship is that?
We're playing right now a light cruiser craft that has only 3 forward beams, so you can't fire phasers in reverse, and it has 2 torpedo bays. And so it's going to take you time to reload, and you're not going to have a lot of initial impact, but the key is being able to surround your enemies, move around them, and use some tactics to target the large craft, and then make sure that comm is working on attempting to get the smaller craft to surrender. But it's a much more crew-oriented game where everyone has to work together.
Right. So part of the main tactical part of the combat revolves around choosing the different types of torpedoes that the ship has that all have different effects. Can you explain to us what kind of torpedoes you have?
There are 4 types of torpedoes. There's the one that most people are probably familiar with that they see. It's a homing torpedo, where once a craft is targeted on, that torpedo will elicit a certain amount of damage, and it will lock onto the next target if the target you fired at is destroyed or you haven't targeted anything, which can be a bad thing if you haven't targeted anything and you're near one of your space stations. It'll go find that and hit it.
Well, the first time I played, we ran into that in the space station. The comms guy kept going, the space station is wondering why we're firing missiles at it. Please stop.
The next type is an ECM. It's an electromagnetic pulse photon. And what it will do is it will weaken the shields of your enemies. And if their shields are down, it'll cause damage to their ships. It's a nice first volley, which you fire that, and then another high damage weapon behind it so that you can weaken their shields and create more damage than you would with a standard weapon. The problem with that is if you're in too close, you're going to take damage from the electromagnetic pulse as well. The third type is a nuke. And those you don't want to be very close to. If any of you have seen Battlestar Galactica, you're firing off a nuke. And if you do this right, fire it off into the middle of a group of 8 craft, you target the largest craft, it will do damage to that and can easily take out 3, 4, 5 other craft around it. But that one you want to stay even further away from because you can take out half of your own ship. And if you're in too close to quarters, you can watch the entire front half of your ship become disabled. So.
Another great factor of this is the science station, and the science station not only has control of the long-range sensors and give you intelligence about enemy craft, including their shield strength and the type of class of ship that they have. And the cool thing about it is that you have to go through 2 sensor passes, and the first sensor pass gives you initial information about the ship, but the second sensor pass gives you something very pivotal, which is a shield frequency. Now, explain to us how that works.
Well, much like the Borg in the original Star Trek, there are certain frequencies in the shield that are weaker, so certain phaser frequencies can cut through them easier. If you're on the furthest from what the shield frequency should be, you're going to do very little damage to them. But if you're spot on, you can actually cause 2.5 times the damage that you normally would to them with a misguided phaser frequency. So if science finds that the frequency is D, make sure that the science officer tells the weapons, set your frequency to D, and it'll shorten the battle.
The battle is significantly affected by good communication between your science officer and your helm and your tactical, because A, the beam frequency, and B, knowing the type of enemy you're going up against. And also they're really good at being able to give you vectors to be able to move towards enemy targets or towards star bases because they have that navigational information available to you. On top of that, engineering is great to have communication between everybody because they can bolster the effectiveness of just about everything on the ship. And if there are certain things that are damaged or out, he can bark out that information and you know that you're not going to be able to make effective use of certain things. Another great thing that also was involved that we did is apparently you can turn energy. Your ship has a limited amount of energy. You can turn that energy into homing torpedoes and make extra ammo for yourself. Now, that could be very risky because if when you run out of energy, your engines die and you're pretty much dead in space. But one of the things that we did was we docked, we filled up our energy, we undocked, made a bunch of homing torpedoes and redocked and boosted our energy again, which was a great fact. There's a lot of things that the space stations do for you. They manufacture, like you said, they manufacture a bunch of weapons, and it's also important for the captain to be able to ask communications what weapons are available at what station so we can reload what we need, and to ask them to produce like more nukes if we know we're fighting against large clusters of ships and we're going to need those things. The funnest thing about it was the nukes for me, because once we fired at center of mass at a big old fleet of ships, and then I hit hard reverse to make sure that we didn't get hit, and then you just saw ships just disappear, and a dreadnought just basically no shields and a bunch of damage, and it was just awesome. And when you felt overwhelmed and you knew you had a couple of nukes in your pocket, you felt okay. Well, I think that's just about it. You guys should. Is there a website where people can check this out?
There's a website for them. It's artemis.eochu.com. I don't even know what that stands for, but
EOCHU.
I believe it's EOCHU. But if you type in Artemis SBS for Spaceship Bridge Simulator into Google, you'll be able to find the website for it. It's the website personally for Tom Robertson, the sole author of this software. This is a pet project for him, and he sells a license for $40, and that will cover all 6 computers. It'll cover an entire bridge. So you don't need to buy individual licenses for each item.
Do you know personally if there's any thoughts about maybe making an online server for this this game? From what I understand, it's pretty much just a LAN party type of situation right now.
This game can be played online with friends that have a license. The only difficulty with it is lag time that you may have, but people can set up a live server with a live IP address and then have the clients connect into that and communicate over Skype between the stations. People do that currently, but it's a little more of this direct communication that it's the personal experience, which is great.
But yeah, it's a great game. People should look into it. It's if you enjoy Star Trek at all, this is just a blast. So I recommend you check it out. Thanks so much for bringing it to the con and letting everybody play it.
Thank you.
All right, we're signing off. Plus 10 to awesome. Thanks so much.